What is the best competitive Pokemon in competitive singles in every generation? Every generation has a different meta, meaning different Pokemon will be on the top. In this video I will be going over just that. The top competitive Pokemon in every generation from Gen 1 to Gen 9. So let's start with Gen 1. In Gen 1 there are 3 contenders for the top spot. Tauros, Chansey and Snorlax. All of them have a similar usage rate in the tier around 87%, so it's difficult to choose one, since they all have different strengths. Though I personally would have to go with Tauros. Tauros is undoubtedly the strongest offensive threat in Gen 1 OU thanks to its powerful step moves, great coverage to hit any Pokemon that resists its steps like Earthquake for Gengar and Blizzard for Rhydon, and it's further enhanced by its incredible base speed stat and therefore high critical hit rate. Since in Gen 1, a higher speed stat means a higher chance for a crit. Besides that, its bulk is not bad either. This makes switching into Tauros pretty tough, since potential checks like Starmie have to fear a paralysis or critical hit from Body Slam. Other Pokemon with the bulk to take Tauros on, such as Cloyster, Snorlax and Slowbro, can only shrug off Tauros hits via rest, leaving them in an exploitable state. Some special attackers can trade with Tauros, but even then they have to be careful of paralysis from Body Slam. Tauros' insane offensive presence makes it a staple on the majority of Gen 1 OU teams and is very hard to pass up on. For Gen 2 overused, there is one contender for the best Pokemon, and that is Snorlax. Everybody that has played Gen 2 OU can agree on this. I don't think there's any discussion about it. Snorlax has a nearly 100% usage rate in the tier, which is absolutely insane and is probably the most dominant Pokemon in a generation ever. Snorlax literally shapes the Gen 2 OU tier, forcing teams to run at least one normal resist while killing the viability of some special attackers. Snorlax has insane stats with great bulk and offensive power while having a great move pool as well. Snorlax is a great curse or belly drum sweeper, great mixed attacker and an amazing wall with rest talk. Aside from that, its only weakness is fight, and fighting moves were not that strong in Gen 2. High jump kick had a base power of 85 and low kick had a standard base power of 50. It's pretty much only had 2 counters, which are Machamp and Skarmory, though strong Pokemon with explosion like Cloyster and Exeggutor could take it out as well with minimal damage. Snorlax is also susceptible to poison, forcing it to use rest, but even with these drawbacks, Snorlax is an insane Pokemon. Leftovers was also introduced in Generation 2, which made Snorlax even harder to chip down. Arguably the best Pokemon in Gen 3 OU is Tyranitar, but I can see an argument for Skarmory as well. Tyranitar's ability Sandstream is very powerful in Gen 3, since it nullifies Leftovers recovery on Pokemon that don't resist Sandstorm, and it is actually why certain Pokemon are used over others. Swampert is used over Suicune despite having better bulk, and Claydol is used over Starmie as a rapid spinner, and Blissey is used over Celebi. This is literally all because of how strong Sand is as a weather by placing all non-resistant Pokemon on a timer and chipping them down. Sand also provides information on the items that Pokemon are running, like Leftovers or Choice Band, and it reveals which Pokemon is faster on the field. Aside from that, Tyranitar has insane stats and a very large move pool, making it very versatile. It can act as a sweeper with Dragon Dance, it has Pursuit to punish Pokemon like Gengar and Choice Band Salamence and Claydol, and it can use Choice Band as a powerful wall breaker, and it can use a mixed attacking set as well. Of course, Tyranitar has its shortcomings, being very slow even with Dragon Dance, and its typing not great defensively either. In Gen 4, this brings us 2 contestants, Jirachi and Tyranitar yet again. While Jirachi is a great Pokemon in Gen 4 because of its great stats and versatility, Tyranitar is in my opinion the superior option. Tyranitar is great because of the same reasons it was great in Gen 3 OU. Sand got even stronger since rock types got the Spadef boost under Sand, which made Tyranitar even bulkier. Tyranitar also checks a lot of dangerous Pokemon like Heatran and Latias, and is a very good pursuit trapper that can trap dangerous special attackers like Azelf, Starmie and the aforementioned Latias, which was a very strong Pokemon in Gen 4 OU. Tyranitar pretty much does the same thing it did in Gen 3, but even better because of the Sand buff and its coverage in Gen 4. While I think Gen 5 is certainly debatable as well, I would say that Tyranitar takes the spot as the best Pokemon for the third time in a row for pretty much the same reasons. Though I don't blame people for making an argument for Latios. Tyranitar keeps dangerous psychic types in check by pursuit trapping them, especially Latios, which is the strongest wall breaker in the tier by far. Its ability to set up sand is even more important than ever, since Gen 5 OU is all about weather wars, so denying your opponent rain for example is very good. Outside of psychic types, Tyranitar is also able to check common threats like Thunderous Therian, Volcarona, Heatran and Jellicent. It can even lure in and take care of threats like Gliscor, Skarmory and Excadrill because of its great move pool. I mean, Tyranitar still does Tyranitar things, but even better, so do I need to say more? Alright, for Gen 6 OU, Clefable is the Pokemon that takes the top position. Clefable got changed from a normal type to the newly introduced Fairy type, which turned out to be a very strong typing, both offensively and defensively. Clefable's typing makes it only weak to Steel and Poison. It has a great move pool and good defensive stats, while that may not seem the case at first glance. Its abilities Magic Guard and Unaware are both very strong as well, and Clefable became a staple on most ORAS teams. It can take on many threats in the metagame such as Gliscor, Weavile, Mecha Lopunny and Slowbro. With Calm Mind, Clefable becomes a dangerous late game sweeper, but it also has a very good supportive move pool with utility moves like Stealth Rock, Thunder Wave and Knock Off. Because of how dominant Clefable is, people started to use more Pokemon to counter it like Metagross, Excadrill and special defensive Gliscor. Despite that, Clefable has remained a top tier Pokemon in the tier. Gen 7 was a tough choice between Landorus Therian and Magearna, but I have decided to go with Landorus Therian. Magearna is certainly a contender too, don't get me wrong, but Landorus Therian is just super versatile in Gen 7. It's an incredible pivot with U-turn, its ability Intimidate and amazing defensive typing, allowing it to check dangerous offensive threats like Mecha Lopunny and Mega Pinsir, while being able to dish out damage of its own with its very high base attack stat, and providing utility with Stealth Rock or Defog. On top of that, this is a great Pokemon for speed control with Choice Scarf. It can literally do all of the things I mentioned in one set. That's not all though. Landorus T can act as a dangerous wall breaker as well, with Swords Dance, Edge Quake for coverage, or using Fly with a Z move to break through and switch ins such as Tangrowth and Tapu Bulu, or Z move with Stone Edge and Rock for Zapdos and Celesteela. It could also run a more defensive set, making more use of its bulk and typing to more reliably check physical attackers. Landorus was so common that it would often run Hidden Power Ice to hit opposing Landorus T, while also hitting Garchomp and Gliscor for a lot of damage. Lastly, Landorus T could be used as a suicide lead on hyper offensive teams with Stealth Rock and Explosion, provide a lot of damage while preventing opponents from using Defog and providing its teammate with a safe switching. For Gen 8 OU, I yet again would have to go with Landorus Therian, but arguments could be made for Heatran, Dragapult and Weavile as well though. Landorus T still remains super versatile in Gen 8 singles. While the Choice Scarf set has fallen off in Gen 8, it started using a specially defensive set as its most common set. This allows it to soft check dangerous special attackers such as Specs, Dragapult, Scarf Blacephalon, Tapu Koko and Heatran, while still being able to check physical attackers such as Garchomp, Excadrill and Zeraora. Furthermore, it still has a versatile move pool, acting as a reliable Stealth Rock setter that can knock off heavy-duty boots of common defoggers or cripple them with Toxic, while being able to provide momentum with U-turn and offensive pressure with Earthquake. While this set was by far the most common set in Gen 8, it still had the option to run a Suicide Lead or a Wall Breaking set. For Gen 9, the very last generation, is a very tough choice between Great Tusk and Gholdengo, though I'd have to go with Great Tusk. Great Tusk is pretty much crowned the Landorus T of Gen 9, and for good reasons. Gen 9 OU right now lacks viable hazard removers, and hazards are very difficult to remove because of Gholdengo and its ability to block both Defog and Rapid Spin. Great Tusk is the only hazard remover that can threaten Gholdengo with Earthquake and Knockoff, meaning Gholdengo cannot safely switch in on a potential Rapid Spin. It can even compress more rolls as well, acting as a physical wall that can check dangerous offensive threats like King Gambit, Roaring Moon and Cinderace, while forcing progress as a reliable stealth rock setter and knocking off heavy duty boots and leftovers with knockoff. Its huge attack stat means that it can fire off powerful step earthquakes as well, making it not a passive Pokemon either. Just like Lander's Tido, Great Tusk can act as an offensive wall breaker as well, with its great offensive stats, amazing offensive diving, and powerful step moves and coverage. Great Tusk is just very consistent Pokemon that can fulfill many roles for a team. Even if the matchup for Great Tusk is bad, it can still provide value with Stealth Rock, Rapid Spin and Knockoff. Now, do you agree with this list of the best Pokemon of each generation? I would like to hear your thoughts as well, and consider liking the video if you enjoyed or learned something new. Thank you for watching and see you next time.